Well, hello and welcome to SBC Podcast Episode Number 2. We have with us today Tim Norstrem of Norstrem Associates. Tim, welcome to the SBC Podcast. How are you?
Great to be here, Rashid. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. It's a pleasure having you here. So, Tim, can you tell us about you and Norstrem Associates?
Sure. Happy to do it. I run a recruiting firm, Norstrem Associates, as you said. We recruit operations and financial professionals for growth companies, growth and development stage companies, typically in the $5 to $50 million range. That represents about 35% of the business population in Florida. So it's a pretty good representative sample of the business population here in Central Florida. So I've been doing that for 25 years now. And, business is good here in Florida.
Yeah, awesome. So, Tim, how did you get into the industry?
That's another whole story. I don't think we've had this conversation, but I started my career as a CPA, and for 5 years was a CPA. And
well, I didn't know that either.
I was,
okay.
yes. And towards the end of my 5 years as a CPA, one thing I learned is I very much enjoyed the client site visits, helping clients solving the problems, but I very much didn't enjoy numbers. So there was a bit of a problem there, a CPA who didn't enjoy the numbers side of things. So one thing led to another, and a mutual friend talked to me about getting into the recruiting business. So I sort of looked into that, and it really sort of married both my knowledge of numbers and business as well as sales type skills. So that was 1993. So like I said, about 25 years ago now. So
I'm assuming that you probably enjoy sales a little bit, or
Oh yeah.
What other things do you enjoy about your current industry?
Learning.
Yeah.
Just learning. I mean, for me, it's not about recruiting is not about matching keywords on a resume. Recruiting is about understanding what's going on in a business, where the business is headed, what problem are we trying to solve, or what goal are we trying to achieve, and learning from that perspective, hearing from business owners, working with them, and finding the key resources to help them realize their goals.
Right. Awesome. So what are some of the challenges that you run into in the industry, or other people, your clients like run into that common issues, headaches when it comes to, let's say, finding talent and things like that?
Okay. I understand what you're saying now. Right now, everybody's experiencing the war for talent. It's kind of an old trite saying, but right now, talented professionals are tough to find. They're employed. They are being paid well. Salaries are on the rise.
Right.
So right now it's about finding that talent, and then in combination with social media, your talented professionals are being bombarded with solicitations daily, if not hourly. So you have to find, myself as a recruiter or an individual who's looking to hire has to find a way to get the attention of that talented professional in the midst of this bombardment from social media. Does that make sense? Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, it's tough competition, especially if you want the right people. And obviously we know when you make the hiring mistake, it's a very painful and costly one, right? And expensive. Yes, absolutely. So for Tim, for people who don't have someone like you with the skill set to kind of take care of all of this for them, what are some of the simple things they can do in the meantime if they are doing this on their own?
You mean
let's
recruiting?
say small business, yes. Let's say even for small business, maybe some things from your experience that will translate into working for a small business owner or even a small HR department.
Well, a couple things come to mind. A couple trite sayings come to mind. First of all, begin with the end in mind, right? What are we trying to accomplish here? I mean, I'm assuming we're just not hiring because we feel like staffing up. We're hiring because we're trying to either solve a problem, there's a job that needs to be done, a function that needs to be created, a goal that needs to be achieved. So what we really do is, what are we trying to accomplish, and where does it fit into the long-term plan of the business? Do we have a business plan? Where does this position, department, function fit into that business plan? And if we can start from that perspective, that'll answer a lot of our questions on what level of talent we need as opposed to what can we get away with.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree, because I mean, there's been instances where I've seen people, and we probably made some of those mistakes as well, where you just either see someone or meet someone and you think, yeah, they're a great person, they're ideal, but they may not be right for you. And I've heard also people that create the positions first with no one in mind, just the position and its responsibilities and things like that. Then they go look for the ideal person. Does that sound like something like that what you were saying, or am I talking about a different thing?
I guess look, just to back up a little bit, I don't like to use the ideal person or the perfect person.
Right.
I just don't like to recruit from that perspective. Because once you hitch your wagon to the concept of the ideal person, right, you've all but eliminated other, de facto, you've all but eliminated all other possibilities. Somebody with some potential talent or skills that you never considered when you drew up this ideal person. So that's why really, I encourage business owners or even department heads, whoever's hiring, don't recruit for the ideal person. Think about what you're trying to accomplish. Where are we going to go? When it gets done, how can we reward this person, and how are we going to do that and recruit towards that end? And you'll be looking, instead of looking for specific skills in a basket of skills, you'll be looking for, in general, a basket of skills that addresses certain areas.
Okay. Do you have any like examples that come to mind without getting into specifics or naming names or anything? Like, let's say, okay, you're hiring for any position like that comes to mind, like a sales position, a marketing position, an ops position. Just like a couple of things, maybe a couple of bullet points, like kind of I guess, shed some more light on what you're talking about. It's a little bit different.
I'll give you a generic a CPA background, an accounting type background.
Yeah, sure.
Right? There's very often that I'll get say, I'm not going to pick on any clients specifically.
Right.
Like, I'm going to fictionalize somebody. Let's take a $25 million business or $50 million business. I got a business owner that comes to me and says, hey, I need a CFO. He's got to be a CPA. He's got to have public-private mix, public meaning, public accounting. Like a lot of CPAs start in like one of the big four, like KPMG, PwC.
Does that mean publicly traded companies or
public accounting?
Public accounting.
CPA firm.
Okay.
CPA firm experience. Okay. So they'll come to me and say, hey, I need public-private mix, have them first starting with a CPA firm, then having worked in private industry, and that's what I think I need. To which sounds great, and that is a very desirable candidate. But then the next question is, why do you need somebody who's a CPA? Are you do you have audited financial statements? Do you?
Right.
No. I'm just running my family business here. And
is that like saying, why would you get a Cadillac when a Chevy would do?
Well, that's sort of a different thing. That's sort of a different thing. I guess I would say, why? Okay, let's look at it a different way. Why would you spend $1 million on a racehorse for your daughter when you could get her a pony for a few $100 and it'll do the same? Now that's an absurd example, but the point being is this fictional guy has asked me to recruit for him is the ideal candidate who's going to need top dollar and is going to want to be challenged and is going to want to move on in his career.
Right.
Whereas this guy is running a family business and while with good intentions has asked for an ideal guy. You don't need to pay that kind of money. These aren't the challenges that you're facing. Maybe what you really need, somebody is with what's called a CMA, Certified Management Accountant. Right. Somebody who understands the family business a little better and moves at that pace.
Maybe you may end up with someone who's overqualified, and then ultimately you can't keep them and it doesn't work.
In essence, yeah. I mean, you might have some things that keep them challenged, but in the long run, those folks that have that DNA and that pedigree, they want to move ahead. Now, if you got the family business that says, hey, we're going to, I'm going to go out and raise some institutional money and then ultimately go public. Okay. Now you probably need that guy. But if you don't have that in mind, don't draw up that ideal person because he may not be happy with you. He could do your job, but he may not be happy. He or she may not be happy with you.
Right. Yeah, no, that's a very good point. I mean, it's just like someone going looking for that ideal girl, and then once they find the ideal girl, doesn't want to have to do anything with them because they're
well, here again, like I say,
no, that's not a good comparison.
When you hit your wagon, it's just, I'm telling you, whether it's whether it's shopping or however you want to put it, I've just seen it for over the years. when I have clients that hitch their wagon to that concept of the ideal person, they put blinders on and don't even consider, hey, what about somebody like this? What about somebody? And here's why I think this person is good based on the basket of skills that they have.
Right.
They come at it from a different perspective, and this is what they want to do. Okay, but if you have the ideal candidate blinders on, you may not make it to that point.
Right. So Tim, let's say, okay, well, you found that, the candidate, and then what are some other crucial following steps or next steps to make sure that, because ultimately you want to find the right person, you want to get them into your organization, you want them to be productive, and ultimately you want them to contribute and have an impact and then help you reach your goals. What are some other things you can do along the way or throughout the process to make sure that happens? Okay.
And we're talking big picture here. I'm not going to.
Right. Yes, of course.
I'm not going to get down into because as far as I'm concerned, there's my process I have steps and methodologies that I follow step up depending upon what the deal is. So I'm going to stay big picture here. But the first thing that I would say is, in the candidate gathering process, keep an open mind. Look at what these people have. Look at what their basket of skills, what they bring to the table, why they're interested in your position. So keep an open mind, and on the other hand, don't fall in love. All right, and like I said, be careful here because I've got a couple deals working right now where one of them specifically is this, where I submit 5 candidates for a chief human resource for a chief level position, and we got a client falling in love with one of the candidates, and all of a sudden some of the other candidates start falling away. Well, we want to keep, they're all valid candidates. We want to keep them in the process. Don't fall in love. It's okay to fall in love at the end, but at the beginning, if you've got folks that are qualified and can do your job and fit with you culturally, keep them in the process. So I would say that would be one of the big things at the outset as you're moving your candidates through the process.
Right. So go through the whole process and don't take any shortcuts. Does that describe it?
Exactly. Yeah. No matter who it is, that's a great point. No matter who it is, it's not like, oh, I found the person. We don't have to do this, or we don't have to do reference checks or background checks, because I think this person's great.
Thank you. I like it when you talk about background checks.
Do you know anything about background checks? There's a place called Sentinel here in town that does a great job from what I hear.
Well, thank you for the plug. So speaking of, following through with the process, are there any other specific tips or things that come to mind? Whether it's, I know, for instance, for some people, it's I think for a lot of people, it's a good idea to have more than one person involved in the process and to supplement the gut check with some scientific processes and things like that. Do you have any tips to that effect, like some quick tips?
Some quick tips. I agree that there should be multiple people in the process. And if you're a small business owner and you're trying to hire your CFO, let's pick on that small business owner with the CFO for a little bit more.
Right.
Say he's trying to hire a CFO. Well, who else is that person going to interview with? Call your outside CPA. Call your banker. Say, hey, would you mind? I'm hiring my first CFO.
Right.
Would you mind being a fresh set of eyes? Just meet this guy or gal for a cup of coffee and see what you think.
Right.
Talk to them. So I agree with that. Multiple people should look in the process. As far as I'm concerned with recruiting, it's recruiting is so much more than just interviewing. It is planning. It's recruiting. It's hiring. It's onboarding. And it's a system of follow-up. So different steps that you can do. I think you just have to make sure you, I don't know if we want to get all the way into the weeds on all those different processes, but
well, we're talking quick tips here because we both know that the process can go deeper than that. And as someone I know has said, hiring is a process, not an event. So there's a lot that goes on in there.
No, absolutely. There's a process. So you stick with your process. You make sure you do your background checking. There's all sort of tools out there like disc profiling, personality profiling, used in the proper context. Those are great indicators to see if somebody will fit in culturally into your business. So if you're using them correctly, I think they're great tools. As far as the interview process and everything goes, some of the subtle things. Try to stay away from the what can I get away with or how little do I have to pay.
Right.
If somebody's out in the marketplace working for across the street making X, don't offer them 0.9x because you've got a great place to work and they should love to come to you. If you want somebody, have that open communication, see what they're going to need in compensation, make them a good offer. That way you don't have to worry about them answering the phone when some dastardly recruiter calls them or something.
Right. So it's not just about compensation and things like that most of the times. Is that correct?
It's not. It's not, as far as the hiring process goes. No, it's cultural. Candidates look at that. Am I going to fit in? Am I going to like working for you?
Right.
What is this business trying to do? Most talented candidates want to be challenged. They want to flex their muscles. What's this business looking to do? They're going to grow. They're going to go public, or they're going to, raise institutional money. That's all stuff that I want to do. So it's that, and compensation's a real piece of it because of the demand for talent. Compensation's sort of, I don't want to say it's the lead, but it's becoming extremely important.
Right. I believe there have been some studies done, and there were certain amounts that where people reach and then they satisfy all their needs as far as compensation is concerned. Then because obviously they have to eat, they have to have a roof over their head, take care of their kids and things like that. Then beyond that, then it starts becoming about, other things. You mentioned like the profiles like DISC and such. Do you have any other specific ones that you like, that you've had experience with that work? I mean, obviously with the assumption that you have to know how to use it and make the most of it.
Well, I mean, honestly, the one that my clients see, the way I work, I don't administer these tests. They're administered by certified people who do these things. Right. But the one that my clients have used the most and it's consistently offered is that DISC profiling. And the important thing is this: I've worked with clients that have misused DISC profiles. Right. Meaning they test the candidate and they look at the DISC profile, the readout, and they look at the negatives and go, I don't, this person's weak in this area. That's not good. The DISC profile isn't meant to find the perfect person that has no weaknesses. Right. What the correct application is the leadership team gets DISC tested, and then candidates get DISC tested, and then how is this profile going to fit in with the management team? Used in that manner with a position that's graded out by the DISC profile, that's the correct way to use it. And I see it work at very high, from what anecdotally, a very high success ratio.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I mean, you can't just use that as a crutch and then to typecast people because it's there's so much, it gets complicated.
It's just another tool.
Exactly. It's part of a whole toolbox, if you would. Now, Tim, are there any other things, any parting remarks, advice, or things that you want to share with the listeners, or maybe things we should have covered as far as this topic is concerned that we haven't?
I would just say this: be consistent in your hiring process. Meaning, at the start we said let's begin with the end in mind, right? So let's keep that in mind as we're interviewing and going through the interview process and after we hire that person. Okay, so we've communicated to that person all the way through. This is what we're trying to accomplish by hiring you. And once that person comes on board, we through the onboarding process, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, we're talking and communicating with that person on a regular basis is how we're doing in reaching the goals that we set when we originally hired you. Right. So it's way more than just welcome to the team. There's your desk. Get to work. So I think that's crucial. And the companies that do that, I have clients that do it, very successful and low turnover rates.
Yeah, I agree. The conversations have to continue and they have to be ongoing. Tim, if people wanted to get a hold of you that may need your services or anything like that, what's the best way?
They can reach me. My website is norstrem.com, Norstrem.com. Okay. My email address, tim@norstrem.com. So tim@norstrem.com. Okay. So they can reach me there. I'm easy to find on social media, Twitter @Tim Norstrem. And so that's where they can reach me.
All right, that sounds good. Well, Tim, this has been a blast and very informative, and I learned a bunch of new things that I didn't even know, even being in a similar or complementary industry. So thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, our listeners, thank you. This concludes our episode number 2 of the SBC podcast, and see you next time.